We are live. Hey, how is it going? Lee Hayward here with another live video Q&A for Friday, March 19th. And the way these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour or so and basically just shooting the breeze, having a conversation with you and discussing whatever you want to talk about when it comes to fitness, nutrition, workouts, building muscle, losing fat, any specific challenges you're having with your exercise or your nutrition program. Feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our video chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our chat today. So first off, I want to make sure that this is actually coming through loud and clear. So if you're tuning in live right now and you can hear me, you can see me, I'm moving, let me know. Just type in loud and clear if it is coming through loud and clear. I always want to make sure, because I have had it in the past where I've started off rambling and talking about stuff, and next thing you know, I didn't have the microphone setting connected right, or whatever, some little stupid thing. Maybe you can hear me, you can't see me, or maybe you can see me and you can't hear me, and I don't want that. I want to make sure that you can hear me, you can see me, and that this is actually coming through loud and clear. All right. Good stuff. We got Lee Dunnigan joining us. Dario is joining us. Good stuff. Loud and clear. Got my Jedi friend there in the background. He's going to be, offering some advice and tips and strategies, and we're all going to use the Force here to make the best progress. Good stuff. There we go. All right. Who do we got joining in? As you tune in, let me know where you're tuning in from, and if you are a regular to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chats, just type the letter R. Let me know you're a regular. And if you are new, this is the first time you've ever tuned into a live chat, I want to welcome you, and type in the letter N. Let me know that you are new. So I see some regulars here. Obviously, Lee's a regular, Dario's a regular, Eagle Eye John's a regular. I see a lot of them. Okay, good stuff. Ricky is joining us. Robert is joining us. Good stuff. Wally is joining in. All right, some regulars there. Again, if you are new to the chat, I want to welcome you. Always nice to have new people tuning in. And I know some people, they might tune in and catch the replays, but you don't actually tune in and catch the live stream. It's always, I don't know, it's extra special when you can tune in live, right? It's just because you have the opportunity now to get your questions answered, and we can kind of chit chat back and forth, in the live stream. So it's always cool when you're doing it live. But hey, the next best option is, of course, catch the replays afterwards. All right, let's see what else we got. I'm just waiting for a few more people to join in. We have Moses joining in. Hey, good stuff. Ricky is joining in. Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Well, I'm just going to probably jump right into it now and start answering some questions and topics of discussion and all that good stuff. As far as my own training is concerned now, just want to give you a quick little update with regards to that. My main focus now is I want to just focus on trimming off a little bit of body fat, a little tiny bit that I gained over the winter, and lean out a bit. And there's talk of possibly a local bodybuilding show coming up, I believe, in June. Now, of course, coronavirus, COVID, lockdown, all that kind of stuff permitting, because we're currently in another lockdown now. So, I kind of take it all with a grain of salt, but there is talk of a competition coming up in June, and that would be a nice stepping stone goal. I would like to focus on that. And I always find in my own case, if I have something external that I'm training for, it helps to give me that extra drive, that extra edge, right? So, I would love to do that. And I was actually planning on doing that last year before coronavirus hit. We were planning on having a provincial bodybuilding championships, and I wanted to make a comeback in the Masters over 40 category and just see how I could do. But of course, that got pushed to the wayside, and everything got shut down with COVID. Everything opened back up again, then it shut down again, and it's like all over the place. So, who knows where we're going to be in a few months from now, but hopefully, fingers crossed, things are going to actually start to move in the right direction, start to come back to normal, at least I'm keeping optimistic that it will. And that's something that I would like to focus on. I would like to just lean out a little bit more and potentially do a local bodybuilding show. I was thinking about doing the classic bodybuilding category, because based on my current stature, height, weight, and all that, that would be a good goal for me to get down to that. And that's something that I would like to do, make that comeback in the over 40 category and just see how it goes. I mean, obviously, I know I'm not going to be able to compete with the young guys and the up and comers and everybody else. I mean, I have no pipe dreams of like winning the overall or anything like that, but it'd be cool to just compete in the masters category and see how I can stack up against the other over 40 fellas and see, just do it for the fun, you know, for shits and giggles and a bit of competition and an external push. That's what I would love to do. So that's what I'm currently focusing on now, currently working out from home. But it's nice to have, again, that outside goal to strive towards, because, again, it helps just give me a little bit of extra motivation, a little bit of extra push, and a little bit more focus when it comes to my workouts. Because I find if I don't really have something to focus on, I kind of get into maintenance mode. And nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's certainly better than being off. I mean, I would much rather have that maintenance mode, but it's nice to have something driving you forward and making progress. So that's what I'm gunning for. And even if the bodybuilding show doesn't go ahead, then that will put me on track for getting in shape for the summer. And I mean, who doesn't want to be in shape for the summer? So it's going to be a win-win regardless. All right, let's jump in. All right, a lot of people tuning in live right now. A lot of questions coming through. Let's jump right into it. So first one, what are your thoughts on carb cycling? This is coming from Dario. Carb cycling is just another strategy to help you with fat loss or muscle gain. You can use it for both, right? It's just another nutritional strategy. It is an advanced strategy, and the way any of these advanced strategies work is you need to have the foundation in place first before it even makes any difference. So one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of guys make when looking for advanced strategies, whether it's carb cycling or whatever, is they're not ready for that yet because they haven't mastered the basics. They haven't laid the foundation first. So I always recommend taking things in a progressive step-by-step fashion. So carb cycling is not where you start. Like, you start by improving your eating habits. You start by improving your exercise habits. You focus on the consistency and getting the system in place. Now, I know, following along with your progress, Dario, because again, we're friends on Facebook, and I seen like you went through the Lose Your Gut challenge that we had and all that kind of stuff. I know you've got the basics in place right now. So this is something that you may want to look into. And how it works, there's different strategies for it, but I'll give you like a generic carb cycle strategy. Something that I've utilized in the past myself, something that I've utilized with some of my advanced coaching students. And it's just something to help optimize your metabolism, to help encourage continued fat loss versus having a steady calories. And how it usually works is you go 2 days of high carbohydrates and a slight calorie surplus. Then you would go 2 to 3 days of medium carbohydrates and a small calorie deficit. And then you would have 2 to 3 days of low carbs and low calories for a big calorie deficit before repeating the cycle. So usually go high, medium, low, repeat. High, medium, low. And most people like to line it up within the days of the week. And how you actually structure it will depend on you, your goals. Like, for example, if your main goal is fat loss, then I would probably put in more of the low carb days in there to help tip the average for the week lower in calories and a bigger average deficit. If your main goal is lean gains, then you could probably have more high calorie days in there and then have the lower carb, lower calorie days in there as like a check and balance to prevent you from gaining too much body fat. But typically that's the way it works. 2 high calorie, high carb days where you're actually in a slight surplus, and then two or three medium, and then 2 or 3 low, however you want to structure that. Hey buddy, how's it going?
I give a big hug and a kiss.
Oh, hey, look, we're doing a video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hello. We're talking about carb cycling. Do you cycle your carbohydrates?
Yeah.
You do? Do you even know what a carbohydrate is?
What do it look like?
It's a food. It's one of the macronutrients. We have protein, carbohydrates, and fat. What does protein give you?
Muscles.
Gives you muscles. Here, you know what here. You know you're the highlight of the show, right? You're stealing the show right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are, aren't you? You're like, you're the coolest dude in town right now.
I'm just gonna go.
Are you?
Do the rest of it.
Okay, I'll do the rest of it. Fair enough. All right. See you later. There. Okay, so what were we talking about? Carb cycling. Yeah. So basically what we're doing with the whole carb cycle approach is you are compressing like the whole bulking, cutting scenario down to a single week, right? You have a couple days where you're in a lean gain phase, a couple days where you're in a moderate calorie deficit for fat loss, and then a couple days where you're in an extreme or more aggressive calorie deficit. And I find that it's a good strategy because it gives you not only that variety and that break, but you're also having days where you're stimulating lean muscle growth when you have those high carb, high calorie days. So it prevents your metabolism from slowing down and it prevents you from losing a lot of mass that you sometimes can if you're always following an extreme low calorie cutting diet. No. So there, that's my thoughts on carb cycling. Again, if you have any questions about it or you want to like see a sample plan or whatnot, feel free to email me, right? I mean, like we can always elaborate on any of these questions that we're talking about. If you want to discuss it offline, you know, through email, just send me an email at leah@leehayward.com and we can elaborate on them more. But with that being said, I'm going to move on and answer some more questions. Who else we got there? We have Wally joining in. Do you think pre-filling belly with protein and veggies is the best method when dealing with holidays so you can enjoy and not calorie count stress, etc.? Yes, you've obviously been following along with some of my content and some of my videos there, Wally, but that is my #1 default baseline nutrition strategy. Fill up on the protein and fill up on the veggies. If like everyone's wondering, like, what's the best diet? What's the best calories? What's the best macros? What's this? Blah, 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 blah. Like, if you just did that, fill up on protein, fill up on veggies, and didn't make it any more complicated than that, that would move 99.9% of the people in the right direction towards reaching their fitness and fat loss goals. That is like a pillar. That is like a solid habit that you can bank on. That is one that I do, my non-negotiable. Every time I sit down to a meal, I want protein and I want veggies. And if I can't get solid food protein or I can't get solid food veggies, then I'm going to have supplemental protein and supplemental veggies in the way of like protein powders or greens powders. So protein and veggies is like the base. That is the nutrient dense foods that's going to fill you up and it's going to nourish you on the cellular level, right? The protein is going to provide the raw material that your body needs for building muscle tissue and building basically all the body tissues. It's going to give you the protein and the amino acids that you need for recovery and growth and just to build your body. And then the veggies is going to give you the nutrients and the vitamins and the minerals and the enzymes and the phytochemicals and all that stuff and the fiber that's going to help nourish you on the cellular level. But again, it's low in calorie density and it's high in volume. So it's going to fill you up and allow you to have that eating satiation, eating satisfaction where you're not feeling hungry. Like when you fill up on protein, you fill up on vegetables, that helps to satiate your appetite. And then afterwards, if you want to have something else, whether it's, you know, some complex carbohydrates or even some sweets or desserts or whatever, you're not going to eat as much of it because you've already pre-filled your belly. And this is my strategy that I use. Even if I'm going to have a cheat meal, I start off with lean protein and veggies first to pre-fill the belly. And then I naturally get full quicker. So even if I'm eating something that it's not supposed to, like let's just say we were going to order a pizza, if I filled up on protein and veggies first, then I'd eat like a couple slices of pizza and I'll be stuffed. Whereas if I started with the pizza first, I could slam back, you know, 4, 5, 6 slices of pizza before I get stuffed. But by pre-filling with the protein and veggies, I can eat, you know, 2 slices of pizza and then I'm like full, comfortable, satisfied. So it's a powerful strategy. Absolutely. And you can use it anytime. I mean, it doesn't have to be holidays. I mean, that's what I do every meal. That's my strategy. All right, let's see what else we have there. Eagle Eye John is saying, is it best to see what reps you respond to? Not all reps are equal. All right, that's an interesting question. And I'm assuming you mean like high reps, low reps and stuff like that. And you're absolutely right. Like, and it goes deeper than that. It's not only the reps, the sets and the reps, but it's also the exercises. Certain exercises tend to work better with heavier weights and lower reps. Certain exercises tend to work better with lighter weights and higher reps. And some are kind of like in the middle. And it really depends on you and your goals, your body type, the exercise, and all that stuff. And there's pros and cons to all the different rep ranges, right? Like you don't fall into the like high reps for cutting, low reps for bulking, or one is good and one is bad. You can look at it as another tool in the toolbox. Like you can utilize high reps and low reps depending on what it is that you want to focus on. And it's not, again, that one is good, bad, or whatever. And you will find as well, like you may respond better to certain ranges more so than someone else. Like everyone has their sweet spot that you kind of gravitate to. And in my case, like I find in that 10 to 15 rep range is where I gravitate to for most exercises. That's like my sweet spot. Some people may like lower reps. Some people may like higher reps. I mean, it's really depends. And again, it may vary from exercise to exercise. Generally speaking, like just some, guidelines that you can follow. The big, heavy compound lifts, your squats, your benches, your deadlifts, your rows, your overhead presses, the bigger moves tend to work better with lower reps. Your mid-range exercises, something like your dumbbell presses, your bent over rows, leg presses, and things like that. Your mid-range compound exercises, they typically work well in a mid-range rep range. So somewhere around 10, 15 reps, somewhere around there. And then you have your isolation exercises. They very often work better with higher reps. So again, it's just a general guideline. Don't take it literally. I mean, you may find that, hey, I like to do high rep squats, right? Like the whole 20 rep squat program, for example. Like that kind of goes contradictory to what I just said, but it's still effective. But generally speaking, the big, heavy compound lifts, you probably want to do heavier, lower reps. The mid-range exercises, you want to do moderate reps. And then the isolation exercises, you want to do lighter weights and higher reps. That's kind of a general rule of thumb, but it's going to vary from person to person, especially if you're working around injuries or mobility issues or whatever. These days, I tend to err on the side of higher reps and more time under tension, and I find that allows me to work the muscle without overstressing the joints, tendons, and ligaments. And it tends to be safer for the most part, because I find a lot of times people end up getting injured when they're trying to lift too much, push themselves with heavy weights. That's, you're kind of walking that tightrope there of yes, the risk to reward. Like, is it worth, is the potential reward worth the risk? And for me at this stage of the game, it's not. So like, I'm not going to be doing 1 rep max bench presses or squats or deadlifts or any of that stuff. Like I really couldn't care less anymore. That's a thing of the past. The risk of injury is not worth the potential reward of hitting a new personal 1 rep max. All right, what else we got there? We got Ricky's joining in from the UK. Welcome. We have Moses joining in. Says, hope the week is going good for you. Yes, my week has been going great. Thank you for asking. What else we got there? Let's see. Is cardio important to build muscle? That's a big question, because we need to unpack it. Do you need cardio to build muscle? Technically, no. Can cardio help in the process? Yes. And you need to look at it from the bigger perspective, because most people, they run into the challenge of, okay, they follow like a mass building program, mass building workout, eating plan, everything else. And yeah, you can gain muscle, right? If you're in a calorie surplus and you're training hard and heavy and consistent, yeah, you can gain muscle, but a lot of times people are gaining unwanted fat in the process. So if you want to make leaner gains, cardio can certainly help with that. It can also help from a recovery and metabolism boosting point of view, because when you're doing regular cardio, it helps to improve your work capacity, improves your endurance and your cardiovascular fitness, and it helps to aid with recovery. And what I often find very helpful is to do weight training one day and cardio the next, weight training one day and cardio the next, and alternate them like that. And then what's happening is during those heavy weight training workouts, you're stimulating muscle growth. You're breaking down the body and you're placing stress and demands on the muscle and giving them a reason to grow bigger and stronger. But then on those off days from weight training, that is, but you're doing some cardio, then you're providing some light active recovery where you're actually helping to speed up the recovery process, burning some body fat in the process, and also to help to eliminate a lot of waste products, and like you eliminate lactic acid, and you're getting blood flow and circulation. So it helps to speed up the recovery process in the muscles. So that's what I like to do. If you're looking for like a simple plan to follow that works, weight training one day, cardio the next, weight training one day, cardio the next. It's kind of like you get the build and the burn in there. And it's a complementary mix where you're getting the benefits of daily exercise, but you're placing different stress and different demands on the body. So instead of always like trying to do weight training day in, day out and end up overtraining and breaking down the muscles and getting like the aches and pains in your joints, tendons, and ligaments from repetitive movement, I find that alternating the weights and the cardio is a great system to follow. And most of my coaching students, like most of the guys who are going through the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program, that's what we start with, right? We start with that fundamental, weight training alternated with cardio. And most of the guys, that's what they do. And they make phenomenal progress with it. I mean, it's a solid system that works. Okay, what else? What's the leanest one can reasonably stay year round? That's from Dario. That really is going to depend on your genetic makeup, your body type, and just your genetic build. And of course, it also depends on your lifestyle and the stage you're at in your program. Like someone who has a naturally lean physique, the ectomorph, if you will, like the person who is naturally on the lean side and their struggle is usually to gain weight, then they're going to be able to stay a lot leaner than someone who's naturally an endomorph, someone who's on the other end of the spectrum. They're constantly struggling to lose weight. Constantly, they got no problem putting on weight and gaining mass. Their problem is trying to lose it. Whereas the ectomorph, they're the other way around. Like they got no trouble staying lean. They got troubles trying to gain mass and fill out their frame. So if someone's an ectomorph, they're going to be able to stay lean with little effort. As long as they're eating healthy and they're exercising consistency, doing their weight training and their cardio, they can stay lean year round and have, visible muscle definition without a lot of effort. I mean, I'm not saying effort, without a lot of struggle, put it that way. Without a lot of discomfort. That's a better word. Without a lot of discomfort. I mean, it's still effort and everything else, but without feeling like they're suffering it out on a diet. Whereas someone who's naturally overweight, and if you've been overweight your whole life, it's going to take more effort, right? And a lot of it also has to do with, like how you were raised. Like if you got through your childhood and your teenage years and you stayed lean, and that's going to have a big impact, because the fat cells you gain when you're young, it's harder to lose that as you get older, right? Like, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying it's harder. You're kind of like stacking the deck against you. Whereas if you can stay lean throughout your childhood, throughout your teenage years, and then you probably put on a little bit as you get older, it's a lot easier to lose that because you're not creating those fat cells in the early stages, and it's actually easier to reverse it. So there's a lot there. Like, that's a loaded question. It really depends. Like, there's not a one size fits all answer to say, the leanest you can get is 9.8% body fat. Check, everybody. No, it's not an answer like that. It really depends on the individual, the situation, their body type. There's a lot of variables there. So that's what I want to do, is just kind of like unpack the question and give you an idea, but it's going to vary from person to person. The big thing that you want to focus on is what's the leanest that you can get and enjoy the process. And that's the big thing. You need to focus on enjoying the process, because one of the biggest drawbacks that I've seen when it comes to fat loss, and I'm speaking from experience here, is a lot of people go on the extreme cutting diets where they try and go super low calorie, super low carb, pushing the cardio, and they're just like burning the candle at both ends, trying to get super lean. And yes, that works. It works in the short term. It absolutely does. I mean, we see it all the time where people drop a bunch of weight. Like, I was having a conversation with a guy the other day, said he's been following a carnivore diet, so a low carb diet, been doing it for 6 months, and he says he's lost 50 pounds over the last 6 months, but he's at his wit's end. He's like, I can't stand the diet anymore. He's hating it, and he's like, what do I do? Because if you can follow any diet, like whatever diet it is, whether it's a low carb or it's a low fat or it's just super low calorie or whatever diet it is, if you can suffer it out, you can drop weight. But do you enjoy it, and can you sustain it? And I mean, sustain it long term, as in not just for a few weeks or a few months or 6 months. Like, can you sustain it for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Is this something you can see yourself following for the rest of your life? And if it's not, then unfortunately the results are only temporary. If your diet has a start and an end date, the results are only temporary. So you have to look at it as a lifestyle approach, something that you can sustain, and not something that you're just going to suffer through. Because when it comes to fat loss, you can't, it's not like you lose the weight and then keep it off and then you can go back to your old habits again. You can't bank fat loss. And like this is where a lot of people struggle, because in so many other areas, you can work hard once and then reap the results of that work long term. Like, let's just say university or college. Like, I can bust my ass for 4 years in university, study and cram and everything else and get a degree. And then I have that degree for the rest of my life, right? Like, you can't take it away from me. I'll have that degree. Boom. I do the work once. I have the result for the rest of my life. I have that degree, those letters behind my name. But when it comes to fat loss and your fitness, you can't do it once and keep it forever. You do it once, but then if you go back to your old habits or you slack off the effort, you're going to revert back to the old habits. You're going to revert back to where you were before. It's not like you can keep it. Same thing when it comes to anything. Like if you're building a business, like I see this a lot with entrepreneurs. They'll go hardcore and they'll really put on the blinders and focus hard for a few years and build their business. Well, once you have the business built, as long as you have the systems in place and the people and the employees and all that to sustain it, you can do the work hard once and then reap the rewards long term, right? You can have that, but your fitness isn't like that. It's something that needs to be done day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out for the rest of your life. Like, you can't just do it once and then slack off, because as soon as you slack off, you're going to go back and regain the weight or lose the fitness, lose the strength. It's something that has to be part of your lifestyle. And this is where you have to have this good enough, but good enough consistently mentality, not this extreme, I'm going to suffer it out and get the results mentality. Because yes, you can suffer it out and get results in the short term, but if you don't enjoy the process and you can't sustain it long term, then you're going to regain the weight again. And that's why over 90% of people who go on a diet end up regaining the weight, and they go back to square one and more frustrated and pissed off than ever. And again, I'm speaking from experience, because I did that myself for years as a competitive bodybuilder, right? I would go on the hardcore cutting diet, the pre-contest cutting diet, get in shape. And then as soon as the contest was over, right, then I'd go back to my old eating habits, regain all the weight back again, try and justify it by telling everybody that I'm bulking up in the off season. Meanwhile, I'm just getting fat. And I was back to square one, right? So it always like up and down, up and down, up and down. And I did that from 1995 when I did my first show all the way up until 2011 when I did my last show. So, I mean, for 16 years, I yo-yo dieted up and down every single year. And looking back at it now, I see how stupid it was. But back then, I don't know, I was just caught up in the whole, bodybuilding meathead lifestyle mentality, if you will, like off-season bulking, pre-contest cutting, and that was just my life. It's almost like I couldn't see the forest for the trees. Like, I was just so caught up in that whole process that I didn't realize it. Whereas now I'm looking back at it and saying, I would have been much better off just staying lean year round. And instead of trying to go on this hardcore extreme cutting diet, just be good enough, but good enough consistently. Like, instead of pedal to the metal, hey, how about we just go set it on cruise control, so I'm slowly making progress and enjoying the process. And that's what I encourage now. And that's the big change that I've made over the last several years. And that's what I focus on now in teaching people in the whole Muscle After 40 system that I have, is you don't need to be extreme. You just need to be good enough, but good enough consistently. And once you grasp it and start living that way, it's such a game changer. It really is. It eliminates the stress and the confusion and the frustration that so many people go through when it comes to trying to lose fat and build muscle. So I don't know. That was a loaded question. What was the question again? Or I said that was a loaded answer. I mean, what's the leanest one can get and stay year round? There, that's the answer. All right, moving on. We have AT. Says, I'm 52 years old. I started training 6 months ago. I'm type 2 diabetic, but controlled. Slow muscle gain progression. Should I take whey or creatine? Both. If that's the question, take both. Right? I take creatine year round. I take whey protein year round. I mean, whey protein is an easy way to bump up your protein intake. And the cool thing about whey protein is you can make so many recipes using whey protein and actually make your eating enjoyable. Like high protein ice cream, high protein oatmeal, high protein pancakes. Like, there's so many things you can use whey protein in and to make other foods tastier and bump up the protein content of them. So, I mean, that's where I use whey protein. Like, I just don't drink shakes. I rarely ever drink a protein shake. What I'll do is I'll use the whey protein as an ingredient in some sort of recipe, like high protein oatmeal or high protein ice cream or high protein pancakes and stuff like that. As far as creatine, I just take that daily, just the same as I take my vitamins daily. I mean, when it comes to creatine, a lot of people think that it's a muscle building supplement, but it's an overall health supplement because there's so many health benefits from creatine. It has mental and cognitive benefits, and in fact, it's been used in patients with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's to help with mental degenerative diseases. So, I mean, it's not just a muscle building product, but it's also a mental and cognitive supplement as well. So it's good to take. Like, even if you're not working out, like your 80-year-old grandmother should be supplementing with creatine, right? Like, everybody should be taking that. And I just take 5 grams a day, just day in, day out, just same as I take my vitamins each day. Same idea. We have Recession Proof saying, what do you think of TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, for a 40-year-old male? Go talk to your doctor and get your levels checked and see if you qualify for it. And if you do, then by all means, look into it, right? It's something that I think it certainly serves its purpose. And the thing you need to realize when it comes to your testosterone levels is they are going to decline with age. And when they start to decline, they're not coming back on their own, right? Like, when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, you're not going to regain the testosterone that you had when you were in your 20s. It's not going to happen. And that's the purpose of testosterone replacement therapy, is to try and give you the benefits of a healthy, high testosterone levels in your later years. And again, you're not going to achieve it naturally. Like, you can take all the test boosters, like all the Tribulus and all the whatever over-the-counter stuff, and I mean, it may help a little bit, but it's not the same as a proper, doctor prescribed testosterone replacement therapy protocol. So what I'd recommend, if you feel the symptoms of low testosterone, which is low energy, low sex drive, you excess body fat, and you just feel a bit blah, right? You don't have that same drive and vigor that you did when you were younger, get it checked out. In fact, when you get your physical, like when you get your checkups and stuff with your doctor and you get your blood work and all that stuff, ask him to check for your testosterone levels, ask him to check your growth hormone and all that stuff. Like, most doctors, I know it's changing now, but for years, like, doctors would never check testosterone. They always like, oh, who cares, right? But they check your cholesterol, they'll check your blood sugar, they'll check your, all that kind of stuff, the big markers. But when it comes to testosterone, oh, who cares about testosterone? But we realize now testosterone is very important. Like, that is the hormone that makes you a man. And if you don't have high testosterone and you're suffering the effects of it, I mean, it's going to carry over into virtually every area of your life. Like, you're just going to feel like crap. I mean, it can lead to depression and just low libido and low energy and just low motivation and low. I mean, you just feel like a bag of crap if you have low testosterone. So if you are concerned about it and you're over 40, yeah, go get it checked. Go to your doctor, schedule some blood work, get it checked. And if you are qualified for it, then by all means, look into your different options. And there's all kinds of different options out there, right? For when it comes to testosterone replacement therapy, whether it's injections or patches or pellets or whatever, creams, and who knows, there's all kinds of stuff that's out there these days. But that's stuff that you would do under doctor supervision. Clark's got a question. In a maintenance mode, first week after a 6-month bulk mode, I'm not sure if that was a question or a statement or if there's more to it. That's all that came through. In maintenance mode, first week after a 6-month bulk mode. If there's more to it, Clark, feel free to elaborate later on. In the meantime, I'm going to continue on. Frederick's saying, Lee, I have elbow pain when doing tricep work for the long head, all over elbow tricep exercises. What would you recommend? Stretch the muscle around the elbow. All right. If you're getting pain with a certain exercise, don't do that exercise and try another variation instead. And the cool thing is, We have so many different exercise variations that you can work around. You don't have to do the ones that cause pain or discomfort. And you may find exercises where you stretch out the triceps. So say like an overhead tricep extension, or maybe a skull crusher or something like that, where you're stretching out the triceps, places more strain on the elbows. Those are usually the bad ones, that cause most pain. If that's the case, don't do those exercises. Focus on other moves instead. So maybe different variations of tricep pushdowns with cables. Experiment with different handles and attachments, like maybe a rope, maybe a V-bar, maybe an easy curl bar, something like that, to see if you can find a variation that allows you to work the muscle without causing a lot of aches and pains to the joints. Other ones that are good as well, doing compound exercises like close grip bench presses or push-ups or things like that, or maybe tricep dips. Like, look around and try different exercises or play around with whatever machines that you have at your gym and see what you can do to work the muscle without causing pain to the joints, tendons, and ligaments. And the thing you need to realize is you don't have to get hung up on an exercise. If there's a certain movement that causes pain and discomfort, then you don't have to do it. You can do another movement instead. Focus on working the muscle, not getting hung up on the specific exercise. So that's what I would recommend. And other things that you can look into as well is just general nutrition to help with your health. And things like making sure you're getting adequate omega-3 fatty acids. They're really good for the joints and good for reducing inflammation. Supplementing with collagen. That's something I've been doing over the last few years. And I found, knock on wood, since I've been supplementing with collagen, I've noticed a huge decrease in joint pain. All right. So, that's something that you might want to look into. Again, collagen is like the building blocks for joints and cartilage and stuff like that. So that can help. Glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM. These are some supplements that you can look into to help with rebuilding the joint cartilage and strengthening them. Turmeric's another one's good for anti-inflammatory and helping with the joints. Also, living a healthier lifestyle, like avoiding the processed junk foods, minimizing alcohol consumption, like minimizing all the toxic and inflammation and crap that you're putting into your body, and focusing on living as healthy as you can, so that on the cellular level, on the internal level, you're helping to reduce inflammation and rebuild the body from the inside out. That goes a long way as well. Like, a lot of times we're always focusing on what we're doing externally when it comes to exercises and this and that. But, what are you doing internally? Like, what's your nutrition like? Are you consuming, processed junk foods that could be causing inflammation? And are you consuming alcohol, which is just loading your body up with toxins and hindering, everything? Like, it lowers your testosterone. It places stress on the body. It just hinders your recovery. Like, alcohol is just toxic and poison to your system. So, if you're drinking a lot on a regular basis, that could be hindering your progress. Look at things from both sides, the training side as well as the health and fitness and nutrition side as well. All right, what else have we got there? Moving on. Rod is saying, do you ever take any pre-workout with DMHA? I'm not familiar with DMHA. My pre-workout, more often than not, is just a strong cup of black coffee. More often than not, that is it. I'm not a big, I will take some pre-workouts from time to time, but I kind of save it for when I need it, not taking it on a regular basis. Right. So, that's like, I did a workout this morning after a strong cup of coffee. That was my pre-workout. I didn't want to, because I find that with a lot of pre-workouts, when you take them, a lot of them are overkill. Because it's almost like a pissing match now to see who can jam the most caffeine and the most stimulants into a pre-workout and get you the most buzz, right? The most caffeine and adrenaline buzz that you can get. And that's what everyone's doing. Like, they're just trying to jack up the dosages of stuff like that. And while a little bit is good, more is not always better. So I find keeping it conservative is the best way to go. And for me, my default go-to pre-workout of choice is just a cup of black coffee. I find that's I enjoy it for one. I just like drinking black coffee. I like the taste of the bean, and I find that it's just enough caffeine, just enough of a pick-me-up to kind of give me that little bit of alertness, that little bit of a oomph, to get through a workout without causing me to feel jittered or wired or to hinder my sleep and all that stuff. So I like to kind of be a bit conservative when it comes to pre-workouts and save it for when you need it. Or if you, and in my case, very often, if I'm going to take a pre-workout, it's not even for weight training. It's usually if I'm going to do like a big bike ride or something like that, that's when I'll take a pre-workout. Like that's one of my passions. If you follow me on Facebook, I'm always posting pictures of me doing bike rides, right? Like, I mean, that's one of my big things. Like in the wintertime, I've got a fat tire bike with studded tires. So, I mean, I'm out snow riding and on the trails. And sometimes I'll go off for like on a Saturday afternoon or something like that. I'll pack up and I'll go off for several hours. So if I'm going for a big bike ride, one that's going to take several hours, then sometimes I will have a pre-workout beforehand, or I might even mix in a little bit of pre-workout in with my water bottle to kind of have that caffeine release over the course of several hours, and I'll sip on it. And sometimes that's when I will use the pre-workout more than I will even for weight training, because I find like weight training for me, it's like an hour and it's done, right? So I mean, a cup of coffee, get in there, get it done, I'm good. But if I'm doing something long duration, again, like a bike ride that's going to take several hours, and I've had some good bike rides over the last year, like some of them in the pushing like 5-hour bike rides, if I'm going off for the whole afternoon or whatever. That's when I'll find that it's actually more beneficial for me than it is just to get through a weight training workout. Like I find a weight training workout like that's easy. I can get through that without a lot of stimulants. But if I'm going to push myself for hours on end, that's when I need to pull out the big guns, if you will, right? Get through that. What else we got? Eagle Eye John saying, I'm hoping to get a testosterone replacement therapy test soon from a health food shop, not a doctor. See my testosterone levels. I would talk to your doctor or talk to a clinic about that. I mean, obviously you can do tests outside of that, but it would probably be best. Like, I mean, you can look into supplements if you want. Like you can look into herbal supplements and whatever to help increase your testosterone levels. And yes, they may help. I mean, some of them do have positive benefits, but if you have low testosterone, it's not getting better on its own naturally, right? That's where the whole testosterone replacement therapy comes into play. And again, it's something you need to discuss that with your doctor and see where you are. Like if it's just moderately low and there's areas for improvement when it comes to your nutrition and your lifestyle and your exercise and all that, then yeah, you may be able to bump it up naturally, by just correcting the things that are causing it to be low. Like if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, simply cutting out the alcohol, that could help to have a positive impact on your testosterone levels, right? If you're not eating a well-balanced diet, eating a well-balanced diet, well, lots of protein, fruits and vegetables and essential fatty acids and stuff like that, that can help. Like you have to look at the bigger picture, right? That's what a lot of people don't. And, so again, lifestyle and supplements and nutrition, yes, that does certainly play a role. But if you're doing all that and you're still not getting the results you need, then you might need to look into talking to your doctor and see what options are available. We have RC joining in. Welcome to the chat. Saying spring is almost here. It is indeed. It's warm here today. Like right now, we are in the plus degrees. It's pouring down rain, so we're actually losing a lot of our snow here today. So I'm a little disappointed because I like the snow, especially when I'm getting out on my fat bike and snow riding and stuff like that. But yeah, we're into a soggy, warm, wet day here. Yeah, so spring is definitely in the air. We have JE joining in. It says, what do you think of trap bar squat, trap bar deadlift for the main leg exercise? The trap bar deadlift is more leg dominant than a regular deadlift. And the reason for that is because the weight is more centered with your body. When you're doing a barbell deadlift, the weight is in front of the legs and you're pulling back. When you're doing a trap bar deadlift, you're centered, you're in the middle of the trap bar, and you're basically lifting straight up. So there's less lower back involvement and there's more leg involvement. So anyone who has lower back issues, or if you just want to emphasize more legs, then certainly you can do that as a great variation. I personally don't find it as effective as a leg builder as a regular squat, because I find with a regular squat, whether that be a barbell squat, front squat, goblet squat, hack squat, whatever, you're going through a deeper range of motion. And I find if you're doing deadlifts, you're not going through that full range of motion. Like nobody's deadlifting ass to the grass, if you will. Like you're usually doing the legs are moving in like a partial squat position when you're doing deadlift variations, whether it's trap bar deadlift or whatever. So it still trains the legs, don't get me wrong, but I find if your main goal is to build the legs, I like to have the squat movement in there so you get in the full range of motion. Now, you got to look at your overall program. I mean, if you can't do squats for whatever reason, then and this is an alternative that you can do, then hey, by all means, go for it. But that's the big difference, right? I mean, it's just more leg involvement, a little bit less lower back involvement because your body is centered with the weights. All right, what else we got? Sherry as Borgankar, I think it is. Sherry as Borgankar. When I do push-ups, my medial head of the tricep of the right hand is targeted more than the left. All right. That's not abnormal. And what I mean by that is we all have imbalances within our bodies. Like you might have one side stronger than the other, one side more dominant than the other. You might have better mobility in one side than another. That's pretty common. Like it's pretty common for most people, but usually it's only people who are actually into weight training and fitness who even know that they have an imbalance. The average Joe who's not in tune with their body, they don't realize their imbalance, or at least they don't care about it as much. But virtually everybody is going to have a dominant side and a weaker side. And that applies not only with your upper body, but your lower body as well. You have a dominant leg and a weaker leg. If you're into like skateboarding or snowboarding, you'll know this because the foot that you lead with, that's your dominant foot. So like if you're a regular foot, that means you got your left foot forward, then your left foot dominant. If you're goofy foot with your right foot forward, then your right foot dominant. So I mean, it depends. And same thing with if you're right-handed or left-handed, you'll find that that's going to have an impact when you're doing exercises. You may feel, the muscles on one side activating a bit more than the other side. All you can really do is focus on training consistently and ideally include exercises where you are forcing both sides to handle an equal workload. So if possible, make sure to include some movements in there where both the left and right sides are handling equal volume, whether that's like dumbbell exercises or it's using machines with independent handles, like hammer strength machines where you got independent between the left and the right, single limb exercises, things like that can help to balance it out. But even if you do the best of your ability with trying to balance it out and you're consciously aware of doing equal volume with left and right sides and all that, chances are you're still going to have an imbalance. You're still going to feel stronger on one side than the other. One side's probably going to be more developed than the other. And that's just the way it is. I mean, if you look at some of the best bodybuilders in the world and you just look at their physiques, you will see imbalances. I mean, prime example, do a Google search for Arnold Schwarzenegger front double bicep pose. And you look at Arnold, when he's doing his front double bicep, his right bicep is way more developed and way more full and shaped than his left, right? The right, it looks awesome. The left looks not quite as awesome. Other guys, like a lot of top bodybuilders, like even former Mr. Olympia, Jay Cutler, like you look at his, like him doing a front double bicep. He has one arm that's bigger than the other. He has one leg that's bigger than the other. And if you actually like look at a full front on shot, like say him doing front double bicep, you can visibly see, okay, one leg is bigger and fuller, one arm is bigger and fuller. And these are guys who are Mr. Olympias, like world-class genetics, world-class training, who've done everything possible to build their bodies. Like anybody who is at the pro level and anybody who's at the Olympia level has done everything physically and humanly possible to build their body at that stage. Like nobody gets there by accident. That is like the best of the best of the best, right? That is like world class. Like they've done everything as far as training, nutrition, performance enhancements, products, and you name it. And plus they have elite level genetics. So if the best of the best of the best still have muscle imbalances, then the average Joe like you and me, we're certainly going to have muscle imbalances. So you can be aware of them, but realize that, you can try your best to correct it with single limb exercises and all that kind of stuff, but you're probably always going to have it. So just accept it and do the best you can. Bottom line, right? Don't let that discourage you from progress. Like I see some people like, oh, my right arm is bigger than my left, or whatever. My right pec is fuller than my left pec, or blah, blah, blah. Like, so what? Just build it up anyways. Focus on getting better in both of them, right? Anyway, let's move on. Have a sip of water too before I move on. Like even Baby Yoda, one of his ears is bigger than the other, right? He's got an imbalance. What else? Who else? Clark saying, I find high reps, lower weight work well around current injuries. Yeah, I can concur with that. I agree. I find that tends to work better because you're placing more work on the muscle and a little less stress on the joints, tendons, and ligaments. So that's a strategy that I've used working around injuries, and I continue to use it. Shrugs with higher reps because the range of motion is shorter. Yep, that makes a lot of sense because you want to focus on the time under tension. And for exercises where you have a very short range of motion and short time under tension, like a shrug, I mean, there's not a lot to that. You want to do higher reps to focus on the time under tension. So where you may do 10 reps of a bench press or 10 reps of a squat or something like that, a shrug, which is very short range of motion, you may want to do 20 reps to get a similar time under tension. Same with a calf raise. Like you look at the time it takes to do a calf raise versus the time it takes to do a squat. The movement and the range of motion is a lot shorter, a lot smaller. So if you want to get the same time under tension, you may have to do more reps. Makes sense. People can pull a muscle lifting too heavy. Yes, they can. That's from Eagle Eye John. Absolutely. You can pull, tear, strain. You can snap your shit up if you lift too heavy. Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt. Gravity Training saying, would you consider jotting down timestamps as you go? I jot down timestamps after the video is done because I don't do it as I go because it's random, right? That's always done, and the replays afterwards, right? I have one of my team members goes through the videos and posts up the timestamps afterwards. So if you go back to all the old replays of the video chats, there's timestamps for every question for all the live video Q&A replays. Ricky is giving me a thumbs up and saying thanks. You're welcome. Clark saying, tried to stay lean in my 22 plus years. Now I'm 44 years old. Great trying to drop / tone up the first week into a maintenance program. I'm lean at 22 years old now. I'm 44. I want to get fitter. I was lean at 22, maybe so. All right. I tried to stay lean in my 22 plus years. Now I'm 44 years old. I'm trying to drop tone up first week into a maintenance program. All right, okay. I think I'm getting what you're saying here. So you're just starting a fat loss program. Your first week into a fat loss program. I think that's what you're asking. Maybe you're asking for tips on how to focus on the first week into a fat loss program. Start small and focus on the basics. Like one of the biggest problems I see a lot of people when it comes to a cutting diet is they try to do too much too soon. Create too big of a calorie deficit, try and have unrealistic expectations and try and drop the weight quickly. Like say, oh, I'm going to go on some 30-day shred, or I'm going on a 6-week cut, or I'm going on a whatever. And they try and make this drastic transformation, this drastic cut, this drastic overhaul. The body doesn't like drastic. Like the easiest way to make progress is slow, steady progress that you can sustain and enjoy. And you just need to do enough to make progress. You don't need to go overkill. Right? It's like if you're going hunting, right? You know, you just need the right tool for the job, right? You don't need to take a rocket launcher to a deer hunt. You would just obliviate the animal. Like you're not going to have anything left to bring home, right? You just need a rifle, right? Take a rifle to a deer hunt, right? If you're going fishing, you know, and you're going to catch trout, like you just need a small hook, right? You don't need, you know, a big old, right? You're not catching a whale, right? Like so. A lot of times you just need the right tool for the job, or you just need to do enough to make progress. A lot of people go in there with the whole overkill mindset. You're like, hey, I want to go on a diet, so I'm just going to drastically cut the calories, right? I need to create this massive calorie deficit. When you only need a small calorie deficit, like literally start off with say like a 10% deficit. That's enough. Don't try and do too much too soon. And this gives you room to progress as your body adapts and changes. Like it gives you room to go further. Whereas if you start right from the day one, pulling out all the big guns, you're doing everything possible. Like you're starving yourself with this massive deficit. You're doing hours of cardio. You're popping fat burners, and you're doing everything you can, burning the candle at both ends. Like when you start to get burnt out or plateaued or whatever, like where are you going to go from there? Like you've already gone pedal to the metal. You can't go pedal to the metal more, right? So you only need to do enough to make progress, and then just continue to focus on just doing enough, being good enough, but good enough consistently. Not trying to do the all or nothing extreme overkill approach, which is the biggest mistake I see, because we have this idea like some is good, more is better, and it's not, right? Some is good, and that's all you need. You don't need more, right? All right, where are we to? Dijon saying best book, top 3 about bodybuilding, nutrition, training, etc. Oh, okay, best book. Whew. Best book. I'm going to tell you one, and this is going to be. It's not a bodybuilding book, but it's one that will have, I think, the biggest impact for a lot of people. It certainly had a big impact for me. And it's one that I use. I model a lot of examples from this with my own coaching students. And I've certainly used a lot of it in my own training. It's focusing on habits, mindset, and lifestyle. Like when it comes to the training, the nutrition, like I'm going to be honest, that stuff is the easy part. Like, you don't need more diets, more training, more tactics, more strategies. Like we need to change in here, and we need to change in here. We need to change our identity, our habits, and the way we do things without conscious effort and willpower. Like you need to change who you are internally, not just having a better diet plan or a better exercise routine or a better set and rep pattern or a better this and that. Like that stuff, I'm not saying it's not important, but it's not the big thing. Like that. The reason why, if you're struggling to lose fat, you're struggling to get in shape, and you're struggling with your fitness, it's not because you don't know the right diet plan or you don't know the right macros or you don't have the right workout. Like you can go on YouTube, type in diet plan. You'll get every diet there ever is. Type in workout. You get every exercise, every split, every workout there ever is from the beginning of time. It's all out there. Like everything is there on YouTube, on Google, on bodybuilding.com, on wherever. Like there's nothing new. It's all out there to some degree, some shape, some form. Like even what we consider new is just something that's old, that's been reinvented and repackaged with a new bow on top. Like we just took something old, shined it up, and said it's new again. Like everything has been done before for the most part. Now, I mean, okay, when it comes to supplements and nutrition or whatever, we can come up with some new stuff there, we might, but when it comes to like the basics, food and exercise, like it's all the same stuff that people have been doing for 100 years. Like there's nothing new. So having a new diet or a new workout or a new whatever, that's not what's holding you back. And even if you look at the old school guys, like back in the pumping iron days, right? Like the physiques that Arnold and them built back in the 60s and 70s. I mean, most people would still love to have a physique like that today. So you don't need new workouts, new nutrition, new nothing. You just need to be able to do what's tried and true and proven and do it consistently. It's not the tactics, it's you actually applying the tactics and applying it long-term and consistently. And one book that would definitely help you with that, I have it here. This one right here, Atomic Habits, James Clear. This I would highly recommend. If you're like, I don't like to say a book is a must read, but this is close to that, if you will. I've gotten a lot of value from this book, and I've used it with my own training and nutrition, and I've used it when I'm coaching my students. I've gotten a lot of value from that. So if you're looking for a solid recommendation, I would recommend this one, Atomic Habits by James Clear. I've got the Audible version as well as the hard copy, and I find you want both, right? Because when you listen to it, that's great. And then when you read it and you can yellow highlighter it and all that, that's great as well. So you're kind of getting the visual as well as the auditory, and I find you just learn it at a deeper level. So when I really want to learn a book, I get the audio as well as the hard copy and go through both. Then you're learning on both ends. But that would probably be one book that I think would have a major impact on a lot of people. And the thing I like about that one, the Atomic Habits book, is he uses a lot of diet and exercise examples within the book, because that's something that's universally applicable to everybody. Like, everybody can improve their diet and exercise habits. So, I mean, that's one thing. He uses a lot of real world examples that you can follow along with. VRJ is saying, what's your best lifts ever in the bench, the overhead press, the squat, and the deadlift? In the bench press, my best ever was 445 pounds. The squat was 530 pounds, and the deadlift was 525 pounds. Overhead press, trying to think about that. I don't think I've ever done like a 1 rep max overhead press before. So I've done seated presses like in the power rack and that with 2 plates aside and stuff, but I never ever did like a 1 rep max overhead standing overhead press. But those, I did the bench, squat, and deadlift because I did compete in powerlifting back in the early 2000s, like 2004, 2005. That's when I was back in my powerlifting days. I trained and competed in powerlifting back then. There's no way I'm nowhere near those numbers now, and not even close. And I have no intentions of even trying. But those were my best lifts ever. And we're talking like over 15 years ago now. Simon is asking or commenting saying, you did a protein coffee video way back. You still make them in the winter? I make it year round. I mean, if I want a protein coffee, it doesn't matter the weather, I make it year round. But yeah, and that's a staple. Like, that's one that I recommend to a lot of my coaching students, and that's like a game changer for a lot of people. The protein coffee, I mean, it's a great way to, if for people who are in a rush, like in the morning, you don't have time for a proper breakfast, or you don't have time for a good high quality, high protein breakfast. I mean, even something as simple as the protein coffee and a piece of fruit, and like, boom, you just got your protein, you got your carbohydrates. I mean, you get yourself like a little mini meal. I mean, that's so quick and convenient. Great for a pre-workout as well. What else have we got there? Harlem's Mickey saying, I'm getting exertion heads. I think he must mean headaches. I'm getting exertion headaches, but I'm not whether it's caffeine or, I think, let me just, all right, I'm going to read your question and then I'm going to decipher it. I'm getting exertion headaches, but I'm not sure whether it's the caffeine or heavy lifting or both. If I need time off, how long do you think I should take time off? I actually have a video dedicated to that exact topic, and I go into detail about exertion headaches, what causes them, and how to remedy them. So rather than me just rehashing it here, I'm going to recommend you watch that video. And all you have to do is do a search on YouTube for Lee Hayward exertion headaches, and you'll get that video. It should pop up in the search. But yeah, that's what I recommend. And in the replay of this, I will post the actual link with the timestamp after. So if you want to go check that out, you'll have the link there in the timestamps in the replay. Okay. What else we got? Yeah, we're over an hour now, so I'm just skimming through some of the questions here now, see what I want to clue up with. Once I hit the hour mark, then I start to wind things down. Let's just see. Clark's got a question saying, I use the trap bar just for traps. Shrugs, your thoughts on that exercise on back day? I like it. Been doing it for years. I use hack machines for legs on leg day. If you like it, keep using it. That's the simple answer right there. If you like it, keep using it. Like, it's not like one is better, right or wrong, good or bad. It's just a different variation. Like, whether you use the trap bar or a barbell or whatever. If you like the trap bar for shrugs and use it, right? It's actually, from a practical point of view, it's good because you're actually centered with the weight, and now you're not dragging the barbell up over your thighs or up over your junk. Because that's one of the drawbacks when you're doing like shrugs with a barbell is, again, depending on the length of your arms and stuff like that. I mean, you could be dragging the barbell up over your junk and dragging it up over your thighs and stuff, and it could be a bit uncomfortable just doing that. Whereas if you're using the trap bar and you're centered and there's no friction because your hands are to your sides of your body, it may be a much more comfortable variation, and you'll probably actually get more range of motion as well because your shoulders are actually centered with your body versus having your arms out in front. So there's probably some advantages from that point of view, but you can make both variations work. What else we have there? We have Brian saying he's 180 pounds and 5'9" tall. Good for you. That's a good height to weight ratio. Kevin is saying, how long do you spend in the gym doing weight training, and what body parts do you train together? A typical workout for me of actual weight training is usually about an hour-ish, and it depends. I say the ish because it depends if I'm training alone or if I'm training at home or if I'm training at the gym or whatever. Like if I'm at home, I usually get it all done within an hour. If I'm at the gym, it might take a little longer. Part of the reason is because I might be there training with my wife, or sometimes you get chit-chatting between sets with somebody, and that could stretch it out. But on average, an hour to 90 minutes is a typical weight training workout. And these days, most of my workouts lately have been geared more around total body training. But lately, I've been getting back into doing some body part splits again, just because I want to change it up. But most of the time, like my default go-to setting is I really like total body workouts. Now, when I say total body, I mean, I'm doing some movements for like upper, lower, and all that, but I will change up the exercises from workout to workout. So I don't necessarily do the exact same total body workout every single day that I go to the gym. Like I still want to work all the major muscle groups, but I will do it with different exercises. And if you want to see an actual sample program, I have a playlist up on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. It's my father and son workout program. And that is a 3-day per week program, 3 total body workouts, but we do different exercises each workout. And that's a good sample of how I go about my training these days. Like that, what you see in that video is pretty much identical to what I do. Now, again, I may vary up the exercises from session to session, depending on what I want to focus on, but that's kind of like the structure. So head on over to the main Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, and you'll see the playlist there on the main channel page. It's the father and son workout split or something like that, where I actually took my father through that whole training program. We worked out together as training partners, which is pretty cool. What else we have? We have Brian sent in $1 tip. Thank you, Brian. Much appreciated. And saying it's not that hard to be swole. It just takes patience, and creatine is good. I totally agree. Creatine is good. It's good for a lot of things, not just muscle building, but for, like I say, the mental and cognitive benefits as well. All right. What else we have there? Just scrolling through now. Steve has got a question saying, Lee, great info. What's your take on giant sets of 10 by 10, and how long would you do this routine for? I consider myself an advanced lifter. Also, built bars are awesome. Thanks for the suggestion. Yeah, okay, cool. 10 by 10. All right. Most people refer to that as German volume training, and it really became popularized by the late Charles Poliquin. Like he wrote articles about that in the Muscle Media 2000 magazine back in the day. And that's where German volume training and the whole 10 by 10 really caught fire and became mainstream, was thanks to Charles Poliquin back in the day. All right. And I've utilized it in the past, and it is an effective training split. And if you are looking for a change and unique muscle stimulation, then the 10 by 10 program can certainly be that. And for those of you who are wondering how it works, is basically you take one exercise for each major muscle group, and you do 10 sets of 10 reps of that one exercise. So let's just say you want to train chest and you want to do bench press. You're going to do 10 sets of 10 reps, and the idea is you start off conservative. So the first few sets are almost, they feel like warm-up sets. It's not really that hard. But then as you progress through, like after you do the first 5 sets, okay, now it's starting to get hard. And then as you get into the last 5 sets, now you're pushing it. I mean, by the time you get to the last few sets, you're hitting failure. Like it's the fatigue compounds over the course of the 10 sets. And it's a unique way of training. I mean, it's a high volume training program, and it's a great way to spur on some unique muscle growth, and it's a nice change of pace. But one of the real world drawbacks is it does get a bit monotonous because you're doing 10 sets of 10 reps of a single exercise. And, you know, once you've done it a few times, I find like after 3 weeks, I was like, okay, this is getting pretty monotonous. It's getting pretty boring. And I would be like craving some change after 3 weeks. And that's what I found was the biggest problem with the 10 by 10 is I would get bored after a few weeks of it. But within those first few weeks, I would see some great results. Like again, you feel the muscles stimulated from a totally different angle. A great way to help if you really want to focus on an exercise, like there's a certain move you really want to prioritize or get good at. 10 by 10 is a great way because you're really targeting and prioritizing that one move. So if you want to get good at bench pressing, then hey, 10 by 10, great way to get, because you're not only are you working the muscle, but you're really reinforcing the technique of that exercise. Same with whether it's squats, deadlifts, curls, presses, rows, whatnot. So it's another tool in the toolbox. And we can say the same thing about virtually any workout, set and rep pattern, you name it. It's not that one is good, bad, right or wrong, better or worse, any of that. Everything works to a certain degree. It's just like finding what do you need to focus on now at this stage of the game for you. And this is where it can get confusing because like everybody's spewing out the best, right? Like you go on, you see whatever, the latest YouTube video by super duper fitness influencer, and he's saying, hey, I'm doing this latest scientifically proven program based on a university study done on 6 college freshmen for 6 weeks. And this has been shown to be 22.3% better for hypertrophy than that. And everyone's spewing out like this is better than that. And this is scientifically proven to be better than something else. Like everything works if you're consistent with it. It really is. Like you can make progress training each muscle group once a week. You can make progress training each muscle group twice a week. You can make progress doing total body workouts 3 times a week. As long as you're consistent with the program and training in a progressive overload fashion and you're eating properly, you can make progress with pretty much anything. And the 10 by 10 is just another variation. So yeah, can you make progress with it? Absolutely. Can you make progress with something else? Absolutely. Right? So hopefully that helps, right? I mean, again, it's just another tool that you have available. Who else? We have Bilo joining in, saying hello. Hello, how are you? What else? Any other questions? I think we come to the end of the questions. Awesome. Eagle Eye John saying, do I train with my wife? Yes. Especially when the gyms are open. Like right now, we're currently in a lockdown situation, so we're kind of doing our own thing right now. Like one person will look after Harvey while the other person goes works out and stuff like that. But under normal situations, when we go to the gym together and Harvey's in daycare, yeah, we work out together as training partners. But right now, we're in a coronavirus lockdown. Everything's up in the air. We're just making it work right now. All right. Anyway, guys, I actually made it to the end of the questions, which is cool. It's like the first time I've ever done that. Well, not the first time, but first time I've done it in a long time. Because normally there's way more questions than there is me. So I'm going to clue it up, and hopefully you enjoyed this video chat. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate it. And if you want to elaborate on any of the questions covered here, or you want to discuss anything with regards to training, nutrition, or coaching, or anything like that, feel free to send me an email. My personal email address is leeh@leehayward.com. Again, that is leeh@leehayward.com, and that comes directly to my email address. So I'll be able to reply back to you if you have any questions or you want to talk about like anything specific to you, your training, the situation, whatnot. Hit me up. And in the meantime, have yourself a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week on our live video Q&A. So have yourself a good one. Talk to you soon. Over and out.